Oh, what a crowd. Oh, what a lively crowd it was. I'm John Renton with my review of AEW Dynamite in Houston, Texas. But Paul Bosch's Houston Wrestling, this was most certainly not. And if Paul Bosch was still alive, he probably would have looked at Tony Khan thinking he was on something. And what he was on was likely the entire Herb Abrams Diet 2 book, WCW, NWO stuff, along with ECW weapon spots, and just segment after segment where, hey, we have this guy cutting a promo. Let's have a beatdown. Quick, let's cut backstage. Quick, let's have a whole bunch of interference spots over here. And then let's have more interference spots. Let's have everybody kick out of everything, and let's have a few things that make sense, but we don't give things a chance to breathe, because why the fuck would we? Let's just keep having segment after segment after segment after segment happen, and I understand wanting to keep the pace up and keep it frenetic, but there is such a thing as letting things breathe. It was almost too busy. It was just so fucking ridiculous. It reminded me of late 99, early, even to late 2000 WCW, and where it didn't necessarily get dull, but it got to where it was mind-numbing, because if you see the same damn things happen and you see so many kickouts and so many things, it gets a little bit ridiculous. That being said, there were a few decent moments. Well, let me know your thoughts in the comments. So again, they were in Houston, Texas, a pretty lively crowd, and Sammy Guevara did get a big pop a little bit later. So, wild thing, you make her tart sing. I think that's how the lyrics go, and it's Moxley and Kingston entering through the crowd. They just had to basically do it by, by feeling around, because the lighting was so goddamn bad when they were walking through there. They couldn't see 2.0 and Daniel Garcia attack them. But apparently they had night vision goggles, because they were able to find them easily. Great job by the lighting crew. Lighting this damn... It sounded like a nice brawl. I sure wish I could have seen it. I mean, I understand not wanting to make everything where it's like, a giant supernova is hanging over everybody. But seriously, that was fucking stupid. So they laid them out. 2.0 was supposed to face Darby and Sting in a tornado tag a little bit later, but they're like, we laid these guys out that were supposed to cut a promo for goddamn reasons, and we're going to call out Darby and Grandpa Icon Sting. And I love Sting, but seriously, it's his first match on TNT television in just over 20 years. He wrestled on the last ever Nitro. I recently retro-reviewed the entire last year of WCW, well, at least from the reboot to the last Nitro, and that was a goddamn chore. So it is a bit, nice bit of nostalgia. Here's the thing, though. All companies are guilty of relying a little bit too much on nostalgia. Now, it seems like Sting is a little bit happy to be there, and him and Darby, it's kind of cool, and I'm sure that the former Everrise 2.0 got a thrill working with Sting. And I love Sting. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. At times, there were some decent moments, but it was a tornado tag, so you're like, okay, everybody get in the ring at once. Fine, that's okay. Oh, we're making it no DQ, so everybody can just interfere. Because why wouldn't you want to just have interference spots within the first goddamn match? Why wait, until the third goddamn match? Why wait until the second segment? Why not just do it, from the word go? Fucking hell, Tony Khan, he's just a rich kid, just booking stuff like he saw in WCW. And here's the thing, WCW was fine. I actually loved WCW for a while. But it got to the point where it's like that was all they had. They just had moments. They didn't have really a lot of cohesive stories. They had some, but they didn't know how to format the shit. So anyway, at least they haven't gone to 3 hours like Nitro did for a couple years. God damn, I hope Dynamite never goes to 3 hours. So anyway, they basically went into the crowd. Why even have a goddamn ref, I wrote down. And JR says, they are fighting among the inanimate objects. Great way to refer to your fans there, JR. I know what he was saying, but still. So Garcia joins the fray, because why the fuck not? And they are fighting, once again, horribly lit. I mean, they're having to get the lights there and everything. I don't know much about the arena, but goddamn, they couldn't have, they couldn't have lights on the cameras or something to just do, just have a little bit better lighting. It was what it was. And Darby, that's what he gets for railing against everybody. He walks down the railing and then dives on everybody. And then Eddie Kingston comes out and takes Garcia out, because why not? And then we get... We get, like, at one point, because there's a ramp to the ring, we get a table out, and then 2.0 suplexes Darby on his skateboard, which looked like it was kind of painful, and Darby actually got busted open from somewhere. I don't know where. So Darby was bleeding, and then Sting's, beating him up, and then gets powerbombed through the goddamn table. But Sting says, I'm going to go Super Sting, showtime, woo! And just no-sell the goddamn table bump. A 62-year-old man no-sold a table. So guess what? Nobody should have to worry about selling a table. They made the table bump completely ineffective. And I get it. He's Sting. Okay. Sure, it was a nostalgia pop. It's fucking stupid, because it's a 62-year-old guy with spinal stenosis taking safe enough bumps, and 2.0 are safe enough workers. But goddamn, a 62-year-old guy no-selling a table bump. It's fucking stupid. And then he hits, God, he gets a double scorpion on them, barely leans down. God, The Rock did a better sharpshooter, and that's saying something, and gets the win. And then we see footage of Sammy proposing to his girlfriend, now his fiance, I believe her name, what's her name? Pam? Anyway, I mean, I kept thinking of Archer, but anyway. You know what? Good for them. I hope they have a happy life. Of course, then we go to a pre-tape of Shawn Spears and Tully. He says, well, he'll make her an honorary member of the Pinnacle, where he'll let her be on top. If you've seen Shawn Spears' significant other, you would wonder why he would go after someone else's significant other. The former Peyton Royce, by the way, in case anybody doesn't know. So Spears jumps Sammy, and it's a melee. Now, Sammy gets a pop because he's from Houston, Texas. Sammy dives off the ramp to a pretty big reaction, kisses his fiance, and they go on with the match, except the match hasn't started. So then Tully does the assisted pile driver to Sammy off the steps, and then finally the bell rings. And then there's throw him out. Chance and Aubrey eventually throws Tully out because he tries to do the pile driver again after the match started. Tully, you would think, would know not to do that. And then the match, here's the thing, the whole Pinnacle Inner Circle thing has been done backwards. They didn't build up to Blood and Guts. They used Blood and Guts as a way to go to Stadium Stampede and then do these matches and everything, instead of doing this stuff where you could have nursed this thing along with promos, done the Stadium Stampede, and then done these matches as you brought crowds back in. But no, they had to hotshot this goddamn thing, and now it's messy. And I'm sorry, you're not going to get me to care about the goddamn Shawn Spears match, especially something like this. Sammy bumped his ass up and did what he could. Sammy was selling his neck at times. There was there really wasn't much to this match, though, outside of Sammy selling his neck, because Spears is a good worker, but there's no reason to care about the guy. During the break, a guardrail gets laid between or a piece of the guardrail gets laid between the apron all the way to the, another part of the guardrail. So you know that bump's going to come in, but it's no DQ. Oh, wait, no, it's not. We're just going to allow it to fucking happen. Why the hell not? And then, oh God, there was at one point they did a spot where they flipped each other off, and then the super cutter off the top for 2, because why the hell not? And then we get the high C4 for 2, and then we get a DVD on the railing, 630 for 2. Are you gonna need to drop a goddamn napalm strike on Shawn Spears to beat him next time? I understand wanting to go along with things, and sure, you have too many kickouts in WWE, AEW, New Japan. I mean, fuck it, 90s All Japan, good God, they had so many goddamn kickouts, but they built to that shit. Having so many kickouts doesn't make your match better, and I don't care what the company is. And then he hits 3 knee strikes, and then Spears is bleeding at this point, apparently either from the knee strike or the railing, or the fact that maybe, he was hemorrhaging, realizing he's Shawn fucking Spears. And like, oh God, what am I going to do? Anyway, GTH 1, 2, 3. So, and him and, Sammy and his, fiance celebrate young love. You will learn to be cynical like me. You'll all learn. So anyway, Christian then gets interrupted by Don Scarlet Fever Callis. They go over their history, and I try to tune out anything Don Callis says, because guess what? He shouldn't be allowed in any wrestling company in 2021 because he's doing the same shtick that he did as a Jackal in 97 and 98. So anyway, Roads to the Top ad. There is no fucking way I am watching that, especially if I have to endure any more brandy on my goddamn television. So we can recap of Dante Martin showing off, and I will say Dante Martin impressed me last week in that 6-man tag. And then we have Dan Lambert. Once again, Dan Lambert, one of the biggest wrestling fans. He's got a huge belt collection, and he gets wrestling. He's cutting this promo, scathing promo, talking about cancel culture and all the fans being goddamn stupid and all this crap. Junior Dos Santos and Andre Orlovsky. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I know Dos Santos, and I've seen Andre before, but I'm not the best when it comes to MMA names. I do apologize to any MMA fans. I don't know why in the world Lambert was brought back after Archer laid him out recently, but you know what? He's fired up, and he's a big wrestling fan, so, it was what it was. But he was talking about AEW is not the answer to your professional wrestling dreams. He knocks fans, he knocks everybody. Here's Archer, but then Sky and Ethan Page, wearing a shirt straight out of the set of Pillow Talk, decide to attack him. Are we going to get Dan Lambert and, are we going to get Dan Lambert teaming up with Sky and Ethan against Archer and a couple people? Who the fuck knows? I don't know why this is happening. I don't know why anybody thought that Sky and Ethan Page should be a team. And then we suddenly go back to Jericho saying that he will beat MJF, that he's got 5,000 friends of Jericho to sing him to the ring. And the crowd chants along with Tarzan Boy because we instantly go to the next match. We go to the Zebra Bucks, the Insuffer Bucks, and good God, they got Cutler, they got Nakazawa, they got Dawn, Scarlet Fever, Callis, they got the Good Brothers, home of the Good Brothers, may we take your order. And Jurassic Express has the useless goddamn midget. It's an AEW Tag Team Championship match. Callis joins commentary, and anytime Callis joins commentary, that's it. Look, I've never been the biggest fan of the Bucks. I recognize they have talent. I have enjoyed some of their matches in the past a lot more than I thought I would, and I give them credit. Sometimes they can tell good stories. This match wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it became a car crash quickly. Now, Jungle Boy had some good stuff, and Luchasaurus was used as a cleanup guy at times, and it worked to an extent. But it's a typical Bucks match where they just do video game shit. That's all they fucking do. We get a hot tag to Luchasaurus at one point. It gets foiled immediately because the Bucks don't know anything about psychology unless they want to work with their friends. I mean, take a look at the Golden Lovers match and take a look at what they did. That was that Strong Style of All 2018 and the terrific tag team match they had against Omega and Page at AEW Revolution 2020. That was a goddamn great match. One of my favorite matches of the year. But more often than not, they do video game shit. Cutler had a flare because he was trying to, distract, he was trying to distract Luchasaurus because, the Jurassic Park. Why not fucking just reference something from 1993? Anyway, we get a pop-up cutter, and then everybody starts just getting in here. We get an assisted indie taker for 2. Omega comes out and hits Stunt with a chair. Pretty bad when you can make Stunt not even close to the least likable person in a goddamn match. And then the refs get distracted by seemingly everybody. Why don't you just have all the families, the family members of the Good Brothers, home of the Good Brothers, maybe take your order, Nakazawa, assuming that his family is not ashamed of him, and Cutler, get all the cold spray cans. Make it like, the clouds dancing around him like that boss in Paper Mario 64. Seriously, just have it be like that. Just have everybody there at ringside. Just seriously, why even have a goddamn ref? Just let the Bucks count their pins. Just let it be like that episode of Thunder where everybody was just able to count their own falls. Yes, that was something that Vince Russo actually booked. Because it made the referee seem ineffective, but then again, it's that corpse referee. And a brain buster on the chair, but then gets broken up. We get more stage bumps. And then we get interference of plenty, and the BTE trigger. BTE trigger may be one of the weakest goddamn looking finishers I've seen in wrestling in a while. 1, 2, 3. Same old Buck shit. The Elite can piss the fuck up. I don't care if you're a fan of the Elite. You can be a fan of the Elite all you damn well want. You think they're a great thing for wrestling, that's fine. They are a weaker version of the NWO. They aren't even as good as the NWO 2000 team. And that had Jeff Jarrett and the Harris brothers in it. You know how hard you gotta try to make me praise something with Jeff Jarrett and the fucking Harris brothers in it? So anyway, then, by the way, Christian Cage interfered at one point in taking out Omega. But then Cage apparently got beat up by Doc Gallows and got brought to the ring. And it was the worst of the NWO beatdowns, except the NWO had star power. And the Insuffer Bucks, Omega, and everybody, including the Good Brothers, home of the Good Brothers, May We Take Your Order, are basically, not even close to the NWO star power even now. And this was abysmal. It was absolutely abysmal. I understand what they're trying to do, but it's not any good because it's like, I don't want to see them get beat up. I want them off my television for good. Just forget the championships and create new goddamn championships because it doesn't mean anything. It's the same shit. It's good heat. I mean, you could think that. I don't. And then Shivani's interviewing Britt. And here's Jamie Hayter and sweet fucking Jesus where they've been hiding her. She is goddamn statuesque and beautiful. And I have seen her wrestle a little bit. Where have they been hiding her? Where has she been wrestling? Genuine question. I know she appeared on AEW programming for a little bit, but where has she been wrestling? So we get a package on Matt Hardy and Orange Cassidy because this is a match that needs to fucking happen. Yeah, we need to see Matt fucking Hardy in a fucking wrestling ring. Fucking. Apparently that's all he's been doing because they have a 5th kid on the way. So anyway, here's Paul White with Shivani. Paul White is fired up. Here's QT and Co. Here in AEW, we don't say things just to build up the fans, we don't build up the fans' expectations just to let them down. I mean, Christian Cage's arrival was kind of a big of a letdown. That's not Christian Cage's fault, but whatever. Who asked for a QT versus Paul White feud? Genuine fucking question. Who asked for this? Nothing against Paul White. QT, I'm sure, is a nice guy. Why the fuck is this feud happening? Don't have QT cut promos. They brought up his hip issues, Paul White's hip issues, like he had to have a hip replacement because being that big and taking the bumps he took, it's amazing he can still walk. It's amazing he's still alive. I'm glad he is. I'm glad he has a new lease on life. But anyway, Paul White says, I talked to Tony Khan, and it's going to be me versus you at All Out because that'll put butts in seats. And then Jade has a pre-tape talking about how she wants to face Kiera Hogan. She's going to face her at Rampage, because she is that bitch. So we get the Elite talking backstage. Shivani says it's going to be a World Tag Title Eliminator small tournament. It's because Tony Khan has had it. It's the Varsity Blondes, Lucha Bros, Jurassic Express, and Private Party. And the Bucks, whoever wins faces the Bucks in a steel cage at All Out. And then we get Taz with Hook's hair, co-starring Hook. What in the world was that supposed to be? What is that rat's nest on his head? Who am I to talk about somebody's hair? Here's Starks, who calls out Brian Cage, but Hobbs has laid out Cage backstage, picks him up, and they start brawling. And Cage gets the advantage, and Starks is like, okay, shit, we have to go. And then Taz and Hook are like, okay, let's go. And then we smash cut to Death Triangle talking about the Eliminator match and Pac versus Andrade, L-O-L-E-O-L-E-O. And then Andrade has conditions, and it's a giant novel. Please have Chavo talk for Andrade. Andrade, he's trying. It's not working to have him talk. I'm sure he's a well-spoken individual, but on TV he's not. Have Chavo talk for him. That's all I gotta say. Penelope Ford took on Thunder Rosa. Fucking love Thunder Rosa. I don't know who thought that. I don't know why Penelope thought that outfit was appropriate to wrestle in because it didn't look very comfortable. Don't get me wrong. She looks great. Thunder Rosa looks great. I never want to be the Texas flag more in my goddamn life. But seriously, I'm glad that these women got featured, but this was quick. It was effective as far as like some of the stuff they hit. Penelope has improved her mat game, and Thunder Rosa is fucking incredible to watch in the ring. There was a drop kick in the ropes, and then the butterfly suplex for 2. There was a nice Indian deathlock by Penelope, but got reversed into a trap, and Thunder Rosa got to tap out victory. Good stuff. And then Malachi Black, we see recaps of him. And then Arn says, hey, Brock, why do you want to face him? Because we couldn't get Malachi Black, we couldn't get Aleister Black, that is, versus Brock Lesnar, so let's get Malachi versus Brock Anderson. And Arn's like, he's going to beat you up. You know that. He's like, well, I got to defend your honor. I mean, I appreciate it, but you're going to get your ass kicked. It's okay. So anyway, next week it's going to be the Varsity Blondes versus Lucha Bros, and that's going to be Red Velvet versus Jamie Hayter. Orange Cassidy versus Matt Hardy, and Malachi Black versus Brock Anderson. And Rampage is going to have Private Party versus Jurassic Express, Jade versus Kiera Hogan, Moxley versus Daniel Garcia, and CM Punk chance. Let me say right now, CM Punk does not show up either for a promo or something. If they don't have him show up, the United Center will not be standing by the time I cut that review. So then we get Miro talking about Del Sol and how he took the easy way out earning a contract, but he didn't beat him. And then he refers to the Old Testament and banging his hot wife, and he says, Kingston, I want to talk. Okay, Eddie Kingston versus Miro. The promos in general will be fun, and this is the word of the Reamer. I think that's how that goes. And then we get a Moxley pre-tape knocking everybody who was in his way, how he carried the flag for AEW and was the world champion through thick and thin, through a lot of empty arena shows, and he was, and I'll give him credit. And he's going to beat up Daniel Garcia. And then MJF comes out to boos. The crowd sings Judas. Eventually they get it. I mean, to be honest, it's got to be hard to get 5,000 people in sync. But they were more in sync than the Houston Rockets offense. So anyway, Jericho and MJF, the fifth labor of Jericho, no Judas effect. Okay, he can't use the elbow. That's fine. He can't just lazily do that. I have not been a fan of Jericho for a while, and even taking out how I feel about him and his stupid goddamn wife and his doofus mother-in-law, and the fact that, you know, they were part of the January 6th Capitol insurrection attempt. And the fact that, you know, Chris Jericho's a goddamn piece of shit. Taking all that out, Jericho's washed. He hit some moves here, but this was every bit of stuff that Jericho could do. He can't do anymore. He was gassed. MJF was having to come to him. He was having to do everything possible to make Jericho look halfway decent. And he nearly crashed on a goddamn dive. MJF bounced around like a goddamn Super Bowl. He did pick up the camera at one point doing the flip off thing, and then got beat up by Jericho. And MJF did target the elbow plenty. You know, the elbow that Jericho did legit hurt when he fell into that crash pad at Blood and Guts, which still should have been filmed with a wide shot, and it would have been a lot better. And at least then, you know, it wouldn't have, but I imagine, you know, he still, you know, there's an element of danger, but it was still a stupid spot in the way they did it. But he had a lion salt for 2, and then MJF kept targeting the arm. He got the salt of the earth on once, and then we got a fist fight, and heat seeker for 2, the pile driver, and then a low blow, and the lion tamer by Jericho, but Jericho gets to the ropes, and then, well, he tries for the ring, but Aubrey catches the ring and tosses it aside, and then Floyd the Bat, right to MJF's throat. But then he ends up, you know, he ends up, like, you know, staggering just enough where Jericho tries for a juice effect, but he can't, and then MJF gets the salt of the earth on, and then eventually gets back, you know, gets it back after a roll-up, gets the salt of the earth on, and Jericho taps out. So that's it right there. So all that time and effort, and MJF still proves that he's better than Jericho, and he knows it. I only wish it would have saved this for a pay-per-view. I think they should have saved it for All Out. I understand wanting to spice things up, but what do you do with them at the pay-per-view now? Do you have the Pinnacle versus the Inner Circle in a 10-man tag and just have them go in a goddamn street fight like crazy and finally blow up this whole goddamn thing? What do you have done? Genuine question. They kind of wrote themselves into a goddamn corner here. So yeah, the show was a goddamn mess. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.